Bing, bing, bong, bong, bing, bing, bing.
Several months later, and he's still crossing my mind all the time. Rain and shine, image of you so divine. I ain't lying, if I didn't want you, I would have been outro, without a doubt though. That's why I stick around like Velcro, and if hell froze, over and over, that's when I'm over you. I know this truth, it's getting kinda lonely in this boat for two. We're overdue for some hugging and touching and loving, girl. When I'm in your presence, feeling like I'm in another world. On a bed of pearls, got your fingers in my curls.
Hello. So
You're gonna record my man's flow.
I pulled the trigger. I pulled the trigger early. My bad.
I'm just kidding.
You shot us dead.
Listen.
Dude, I don't think we've ever revealed that. Like, we've definitely had some misfire startups for sure.
Oh yeah.
So,
I don't think we have.
nothing too bad.
Not yet.
We've definitely had rocky starts, no doubt.
And listen, 10:30 means 10:30. But if we keep, if we say 10:30-ish, then 10:40
means you have to be ready for us to stream at 10:30.
If we start pushing it back to like 10:40, 10:50, 11, like eventually it's just gonna get to a point where we just stop. So we try
to show up.
Yeah, so we force it. We might be a couple minutes late. We had, Michael had
I was doing a quiz.
No, he had to put his kid to bed. Don't lie. Michael's a father of 3.
He's right there in the.
He's hiding in the
blanket.
Go give him a little, tap for.
Actually, that is curious. Why hasn't that?
Oh,
breaks your son with fucking keys.
Oh shoot!
Why very early to? That's not true. I'm not early to everything.
Yeah, you are. No, yeah, a little bit.
I'm alright.
You're not.
I'm decent. I'm not the worst, but I'm fallible. Like
when Jacan says 10:30, it means be there 10:30, not leave at 10:30.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. God.
I got a new mic stand. I don't know if you guys noticed from last stream.
It's not just sitting on the desk now.
Yeah, so before I didn't have a mic stand, it was just on the desk. So everything, like I would hit my desk and you would hear like the vibrations and everything. I had a mic stand, but it doesn't work with this desk. Like there's nowhere to put it without it being uncomfortable. So I got like a weighted one.
Yeah, that's the one when I upgrade my mic. with this Joe Biden stimulus, which is, I guess, before we segue into the news, hopefully everybody watching will be able to receive their Joe Biden stimmy. If you live in California, we hope you get that Gavin Newsom stimmy. Hope you get, it's never enough, but I hope anything will help.
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna free myself up a little bit here with things like debt. With this, buy myself something cute.
Which shows how disgusting it is that they backed off and took so long on this, because how valuable that money is to so many people.
And not only took so long with it, but just dumbed it down so much. Fucking made it so shitty. From them every single day during the primary saying, get us in office, we'll get you those 2K checks. Get us in office, we'll get you those 2K checks. And they did, the people did that, and they completely, failed on it. They backed off completely. People lost their homes because of this. And now, not only, they're getting less money now, they're not getting the $15 minimum wage. They're getting less in unemployment benefits than before.
Less households are eligible. They moved down the.
Yep.
Yeah.
They continued to just dumb down this bill, and we can't do anything about it. There's that big Joe Manchin dumbass fucking cinema.
Senator Sinema or Cinema.
Cinema.
That clip went huge, right?
Yeah, bisexual slay queen, let them eat cake, fucking piece of shit. Absolute scumbag shit. If you didn't see the clip, I'm glad. It's just angering. But basically, Senator from Arizona, Kristen Sinema, basically just did like a very animated voting down of the $15 minimum wage proposal. She did a little cute dance and fucking put her thumb down and walked out of the room with a slice of chocolate cake, just very this is just she came in as it is almost like a chore for her, she was just something to do in the middle of her day, an errand almost.
And when the background with her too, she's a supposed progressive that just got a recent got in recently too.
Yeah, I mean,
she has a Green Party pass, so it
it goes deeper. It
shows that you can't put all your marbles in a candidate or and at the end of the day, a lot of these, it's about building working class power and getting the issues that we need. It's not about fucking any one individual or anything like that, because they're completely corrupt to the system, dude. We've understood that money in politics is what controls this.
And it goes way deeper, with her whole situation. She ran in big anarchist circles in the Arizona scene. She was very much a self-described socialist or whatever. But then as soon as she got interested in running for office, she completely postured to a centrist establishment Democrat type. And again, I talked about this on Twitter a little bit just because this whole situation is fucking angering to watch. When you look at a situation like that, it's not that we lost an ally. We never had an ally in the first place. At no point was she ever really a socialist. This is all just she was looking for a winning team, and she saw that the corporate way, the establishment Democrat way, was the way to get into power, and now she's just using it to line her own pocket.
Yeah, it should just show us that we shouldn't invest in this kind of politics, honestly. Just gets nothing done. So, yeah, it was extra. Like you're saying, you just feel so powerless watching it, because that's what it is. It's you can't. The reality of that situation is you have nothing to do to affect that, and you're just watching it happen to you. And the only way to change that is, you have to actually change material conditions.
And there was a chance, and
yeah.
And even you can call her a social democrat, whatever the fuck you want. At any, a social democrat is a social democrat because at some point there's eventually a point in time where they're like, okay, and they have to side with capital.
Well, it does. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter what she is. She's gonna. The fact that she's working within that system, the way she is.
At the end of the day, there's gonna be something there's gonna be some disagreement she has with a more socialist perspective and a more capitalist, where she decides to side with capital, and that's just.
She'd rather compromise with the machine than stand against it.
Yeah.
My camera.
I mean, everyone knows that, right? They know as you sit in DC, you just become more like the people that are there, and it's not just some like pseudo intellectual thing. Like it really happens to people, and it's,
I mean, AOC's even talked about it, like she's trying to get on the Pelosi, and she's trying to play the game a little bit.
Yeah,
and you can't. You just can't play the game because that's not how you win.
And it doesn't. Yeah.
You got you got elected for saying you got elected for going against the game, and now you're trying to play within it. That's not how that works, and that's not what that's not what you signed up for, or signed up to do rather.
You got to be the model, show people what's possible. You don't have to just bow down to the system.
Well, that's why Bernie's goated for his 2 runs, especially. And that's why it was so powerful. It's weird to see. This is another aside, maybe different from this. Like people that discount those things, like those weren't like real working class like power, like actually trying to do something. The 2 Bernie movements, like that was like. It's so weird to just discount that, like that wasn't actually something, and just to realize that that's something deeper was channeled there, which was actual people, trying to achieve working class change. And, when that all died, like, yeah, Bernie's just as fallible as anyone else. And now that has to channel into us building organizations in our own communities.
Yeah, definitely.
Michael also got a new haircut.
Michael did get a new haircut. You're muted.
I'm muted.
Where'd you get it?
I got it at what's that girl's name? You're at Seabridge.
Yeah, I don't know.
Queen's hair salon. Yeah.
Shout out Queen's hair salon. Looking
Queen's
fresh.
hair salon. Yeah, it does look nice.
Got it
about a week ago. How we talked about that? Bobby Shmurda's free.
Yeah, free Shmurda, baby.
Is
and
he?
He
is. He's been free.
He is a son of the god Allah. Refusing haram alcohol at clubs, wearing his mask.
True, liquor's not haram. Inshallah.
Looking
free take
healthy in bulk. Free take, that's you damn right. What's a couple lives when you got bars? Free take, You know what? If you weren't there, how do you know he did it?
The Bobby Shmurda one's like such a crazy example because pretty much since he didn't rat out his homie, like they put him away for a ridiculous time. And it wasn't like but he seems like a good dude. He deserves those hits.
Yes, sir.
Bobby Bitch, the snippet is one of the greatest snippets of all time.
Just getting fucking.
Yeah. No karate, bitch. Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Right, should we actually kick off our show then?
Yeah, let's get into the normal show now. That was the what do you call it? The beat, like the prelude.
The preamble. Yeah,
prelude. Quaalude. Lemons Quaaludes.
I don't think prelude is the right word.
I think it is.
Preamble, prelude, either way.
Prelude.
Epilogue.
Prelude.
Prologue, rather.
Prologue.
An action or event serving as an introduction or something more important. To something more important. Okay, well.
That sounds exactly like what is happening. No. Michael, have you started an article before? I think you have, no?
I don't think I've ever started one in the beginning, no.
Well, this is your first time.
Yes. Who sent this? Was this the one?
This is Jose. Yeah. But I think it's a good segue, too, for, like, kind of some of the stuff we were talking about. And, yeah, well, we have other pieces relating to vaccines as well.
Yeah, so this is on Common Dreams. Let me open up the fucking thing first. Okay. you have it up on the screen? It's titled FBI Urge to Probe Correct Vaccine Favoritism by Florida's GOP Governor Ron DeSantis. Florida Agriculture Commissioner Nikki Fried on Thursday accused the state's Republican governor Ron DeSantis of staging red carpet vaccine distribution for donors and called for the FBI to investigate the matter. Citing her experience as the public defender, Fried, the state's highest-ranking elect Democrat, said the fact pattern is simply just a clear to avoid, give campaign contribution, big dollars, get special access to vaccines ahead of seniors, ahead of our teachers, ahead of our farm workers, and so many of our residents here in the state of Florida. If this isn't public corruption, I don't know what is, said Fried, whose office is also the state's consumer watchdog. I will not stand by and let our vaccines be used as political gain to be auctioned to the highest bidder, she said. Fried's call for the FBI probe followed reporting by the Miami Herald that nearly all those over 65 in the wealthy Key Largo community, Ocean Reef Club, received vaccines by mid-January. The Herald, is it Arnold or Herald?
It's Herald, you're right.
It's Herald, yeah. The Herald noted Wednesday that Ocean Reef is home to many wealthy donors to the Florida Republican Party and GOP candidates, including Governor Ron DeSantis. And the only reason, or the only people from Key Largo who gave to DeSantis' political committee live to Ocean. I read that really weird. The only people from Key Largo who gave to DeSantis' political committee live in Ocean Reef, the outlet added. Citing the Florida Division of Elections, the newspaper reported that 17 residents of the community had given DeSantis contributions of $5,000 each through December of 2020. On the Ocean Reef residence is former Republican governor of Illinois, Bruce Rauner, who on February 25th increased his contribution and wrote a $250,000 check, according to the Herald. In fact, since DeSantis started using the state's vaccine initiative to steer special pop-up vaccinations to select committees, the Herald reported his political committee has raised $2.7 million in the month of February alone, more than any other month since he first ran for governor in 2018, records show. And then there's a tweet here by Fried that states, today today and every day during this pandemic is a good day to hold DeSantis accountable. And then it goes into further evidence that is playing politics with vaccine distribution in coming weeks. Should I go over this or?
Let's just kind of jump from there because we can talk more broadly about just how poor the vaccine rollout has been.
Yeah, complete flub of not only state but federal government.
Yeah, and I think we among we're not prophets or anything, but I think a lot of people realize that this was going to happen too.
Of course.
And yeah, this is so interesting because it just shows like, yeah, even on a base level, there's just rampant rich corruption. Just rich people just straight up like, oh, I'm going to give you a shit ton of money to get my vaccine, basically. It's as simple as it gets.
I swear, every time my mom and grandma have the TV on and like I have to hear corporate media, they're always praising Joe Biden for the vaccine rollout. You know, it's I don't think I can hardly recall them saying anything negative about Joe Biden at all. Like they're almost more blatant in their partisanship than like, you know, I don't even know. I mean, like we're open about our bias here. Smooth, so. They just pretend to be unbiased.
What was that, Michael?
The rollout of vaccines have been not smooth whatsoever, and if anything, the opposite. And I just remember them wanting to give it to like those who actually need it. It was more like what was it like? Give it to
those who are most at risk.
Yeah, elderly, healthcare workers, and then
which
And then like
totally
frontline workers, yeah.
Frontline, yeah.
Like who people have to be
sounds-
in contact.
Yeah, which sounds right.
Logical.
But it didn't really work out that way. A lot of it didn't even get to those
Socialism.
people. It didn't get to them at all.
Right.
You give the medicine to who needs it the most. That's literally the fundamental principle of like socialized
Exactly.
medicine. You
Right.
don't make it for profit like this.
Yeah, it's a by need. Whoever needs it, that's how we ration it.
Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, a lot of those people did not receive their vaccines or didn't even get the opportunity to get the vaccine.
Yeah, instead it was rich assholes in the fucking Florida Keys just spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to get early vaccines and shit.
Yeah,
Crazy.
corruption.
Yeah, I think Carlos has a good piece later that more is about like just the media's role in corruption as well, but
Mm-hmm.
I think this show broadly can just be corruption is the title almost. Ian Brown? Alright. So we want to move to the next one?
Can he hear us?
I don't know. He was
No?
because you heard him like banging on the table, right?
Yeah.
Like, hella loud, yeah.
Hello?
Everything froze up.
Okay.
You were like banging on the table. and
I was like, I
it's
thought
what's
I thought he lost it. Yeah.
No, sorry, my bad. Because the stream froze for me, and then your faces froze. So I was trying to see if my mic would pick
Michael and I were prepared to like how to handle a psychotic break right now.
up.
We were like, fuck, dude, how do we handle this?
Hold on, give me one sec.
And Jacan, how does it feel to be Ian?
Am I in this position right now?
Michael's shaking.
Oh, wait, wait, I'm not comfortable with Michael being mute though.
I don't like where
I'm
I
back.
am.
Oh damn, that hurts, bro.
What? There's more power being up on top of the screen.
You said you don't like who you are? Oh, you don't like where you are now?
I don't like where my camera was just now. It was in your position.
Oh, you don't like the power.
He's
yet.
saying he fucking hates you.
No, I don't.
No,
I
Michael's a
just-
wise prophet. He can't. Power is corrupting. He
Right,
rejects it.
I don't like it.
Michael wants to be a bottom.
I'm at the bottom of the screen, bro.
Jose's on it, bro. He's just torching people in
I
chat.
don't know.
Just said fuck Leo for no reason.
All these words coming out of a fucking. How tall is Jose? Like,
5 feet, 4'11", something like that.
5'3".
yeah, he can fit in a suitcase. Crazy.
Fit him down the leg of my pants.
So, how do we transition this? I'm struggling right now.
Amazon.
So,
As
So in
spoken from the
COVID-related-
man who edits the audio.
In COVID-related news,
Amazon.
yeah, I like that one.
after talking about the mismanagement of COVID vaccines from DeSantis in Florida, we can now talk about something that we talked about a couple episodes ago. The is this the Pouchon story? I believe you have
Yeah.
an update on it.
Yeah, so I think and this is like a story I've shared with my family, even my grandparents. They came here this weekend, and I even told them about it because I think it's a particular powerful story, honestly, because
Insane.
it tells the tale. Like everything about it, every element is, defines the crisis that's happening in our country right now. And before the show, I was like kind of talking about like I have a cousin that works at a Prime facility, Amazon facility, and he's like, he got sick recently, and pretty sure he's tested positive for COVID and stuff. But like, yeah, the treatment of these workers is just it hits home too, and yeah, just another like thing before too. Like we've talked about the Alabama workers and their work to prevent shit like this, to unionize and fight this,
Yes.
and the disgusting moves Amazon has taken to combat that. And
Which we have a whole big segment on where I go in really depth on like all the crazy shit they're doing, like going to the city to change the timings of the traffic lights. So when workers are leaving work, or coming into work, they're less likely to get a red light and be stopped to where the union workers can talk to them. Amazon did it to where it's just you go from that intersection that leads into the facility straight out to the main road, which is how.
And they even had stories of like car accidents that nearly killed like one of the organizers, Big Mike, who seemed like a really jovial, really cool guy.
Big Mike.
Yeah.
That's Michael if he was from the South.
As you can guess, if you give priority to like the coming out of like a shopping area or like an Amazon, like warehouse area, and like you're forcing people who normally would just be driving straight to stop more often. Yeah, you can see how an accident happened.
Yeah, exactly. But here, an even more tragic accident happened, as we said before, the story of Pushan Brown. And I'll just read from Status Quo, it's a resource we use a lot. And he's interviewed her sister, I believe. I think that was a video we watched, and now he has this article as well. It says, the Amazon worker who suddenly died after working in COVID testing area complained about unsafe conditions. He says, quote, so what you're saying is that Amazon will not be closing the warehouse and having it professionally cleaned and sanitized. The late Pushan Brown wrote to HR at the DDC-3 Virginia warehouse in April 2020. Pushan Brown, a 38-year-old Amazon worker who suddenly died in January after working in her Virginia warehouse COVID testing area for several months, complained to human resources and supervisors about Amazon's unsafe and unsanitary conditions early on in the COVID-19 pandemic. Emails obtained by Status Quo show. On January 14th, Brown, who worked at Amazon for 2 years, came home from work not feeling well. She called her sister Christina and shared that her head hurt. The next morning, after Pushan got her 12-year-old daughter, Gabrielle, ready for virtual school, she laid back in bed still feeling unwell. She never woke up. Pushan's family couldn't afford an autopsy to find out what caused her death. According to her sister and other sources who worked with her in the DDC-3 warehouse in Virginia, Brown had been administering COVID-19 nasal swab tests on coworkers for months before her death. While doing so, she wasn't provided the proper N95 mask, surgical gloves, gowns, goggles, or other protective measures nurses and doctors are supposed to wear while conducting COVID-19 testing. Another quote says, Amazon should have hired or paid third-party companies with medical expertise to conduct testing, unquote. Christian Smalls, who we've also covered, and he does great work. He's an Amazon worker that's tried to unionize, and he's been smeared by Amazon repeatedly. I just wanted to highlight the story again because now the revelations, of course, like that she was telling them that these conditions are unsafe, that, I'm seeing people come in and we don't have any gloves, we don't have any masks. In the video interview, she says there's incidences of like people coming in and throwing up and then still working that same day. Like that, yeah. And you can imagine that, like, you can't put the onus on the worker. A lot of these people are desperate for money. So, and yeah, echoing what Christian Small says, like, they should have hired doctors to do this, of course, but of course Amazon won't do that because, that's how Jeff Bezos has gotten this rich, is his endless drive for profit. And he's willing to kill a single mother that has a, 12-year-old daughter that, now is her sister's, under her sister's care. It's crazy.
I remember watching this video about Bezos where he I think it showed like old footage of him saying like how he was basically from the start, even before Amazon, he was like, I'm gonna be a billionaire. I want to be a billionaire. I'm gonna do whatever it takes to be a billionaire. And I think he was already talking to like some advisor at the time, and he's like, so what are you gonna do to like be a billionaire? He's like, I'm gonna create a company. I'm gonna create a company that buys and sells books. So that was basically the premise of Amazon back in the day.
Yeah,
that dude fucking.
He got like 250,000 from his parents or something like that, or like closer to 500,000.
Took that and ran, and just like Jacan said, it was just all of his motive for profit. I mean, like he just tunnel vision profit all the way. And he
That's
said
pretty
he would do
crazy. He
whatever
straight up
takes.
just said like, I wanna be a billionaire.
Yeah, he's like, I'm like, he knew from the start he
yeah.
was gonna be successful. Like, he literally.
I mean, when your parents give you $300,000,
Of course,
it's hard
yeah.
to fuck up.
But it's just like it's psychotic, right?
Yeah.
I mean, people don't think that was. I mean, I guess in our society, people don't think that, like, right? Make your bread, but I think that's how you get the mentality of someone like Bezos. You can't be in that position without how he grew up. Yeah, he has to get that $300,000 from his parents. He has to be a product of the upper white middle class.
It's crazy
Yes,
because
but-
he wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna be rich. Like, that was not what he said. He was like, I'm gonna be like, I don't know if he said he's gonna.
Obscenely rich.
Yeah, I don't think he said that. It was either he said he was gonna be a billionaire, or he wants to be, or he says he's going to be the richest man in the world. It was one of the two.
Either
That
one
one's even crazier.
That one's even crazier.
equally psychotic.
Yeah, I
'Cause
think
you just-
almost one and the same though, right?
Yeah.
Well, no, it was all based off of his effort alone. It's not like he was in the right time or the right place or anything. You know,
You ever
so
see
he
those-
deserves to be worth hundreds of billions of dollars.
It's
right?
like those fucking those stories. It's like how I bought my own house at 21, and how you can too. And it's like, and the first line's like, oh, well, I stopped paying rent, and I just lived with my
I got
parents.
a $70,000 loan from my parents.
Yeah, my parents gave me $100,000 for the down payment, and I just lived with them for a couple of years while I stacked up my money,
Yeah.
working my really nice job that my family helped me get. It's like, okay, so you didn't buy a house; your family bought you a house.
So the majority of what people.
I mean, so it wasn't all your individualness and your effort alone.
Carlos is none of us have to be sarcastic because Carlos is like one
Carlos
solid atom of just
Carlos
sarcasm.
is sarcasm.
Sarcasm.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
I've been a living meme for almost a decade now. You can't beat me.
Carlos has said so much
can't
sarcasm
move
that I can't tell if it's sarcasm or not. So I just kind of laugh it off, even though he's like.
No,
being
sometimes
really
it's
serious.
beautiful. You gotta unpack it, and it's like you're like, holy shit. Yeah, just to so we could wrap this up and move to the next thing, because it will also relate to vaccines. Just so disgusting. Yeah, I think Jeff Bezos is a fucking psycho. It's not surprising to hear that was his early on that was his attitude because dude, look at the shit they're doing. It's so disgusting.
Yeah.
I would encourage people to share this story too, because I feel like it really resonates for a lot of people. Because her attitude too is like she was, she worked really hard every day for a shitty company, but she came to work early, worked shitty hours, worked all the time, didn't complain or anything, and the company did her obscenely dirty, but
yeah. And every company will, because at some point they gotta make their profit.
Yeah, well, here's the lengths they're willing to go to, and it just shows, at the core of this ideology, there's a problem because it's willing to put people's lives on the line for money.
Absolutely.
Do we want to move? Let's move to the next.
Yeah, just in 1 second. Let's look at what's gonna pop up on the stream right now.
I'm scared.
You gonna sub?
Pop up, stupid. There it is. And
Bing, bing, bong,
resub
bong,
Oh,
bing, bing.
nice.
for 4 months. It's crazy.
not
We've had our
have resub yet.
we've had our sub button for 4 months.
Yeah, dude. We're not too far from a year.
It's August.
We'll be in August before we know it. Honestly.
Yeah, because we're gonna be inside for another year.
Yeah, we're getting old too. I
Nah.
saw a great tweet where it was like, I can't remember who it was. It was like, it was so descriptive of the moment. When you're living in the collapse, you think it's gonna be the brink, right? You always think we're here for the moment, but with collapse, when you're in the decline, part, like you can never tell which phase you're in, So it's the same thing. Like, we could have been in the collapse of the Roman Empire. There was people that lived through that, and that shit was hell for like 100 years before the empire fell. So we got to get to work. That's what I'm saying. Because this shit sucks. It's not gonna. We can't expect shit to just, like, those accelerationist people. I think it's just gonna end, and then things are just gonna keep progressively getting bad for a long time. I feel like.
Yeah. Without putting in any work, nothing will ever get good.
Yeah, it's just gonna suck for a long time. That's all that's gonna happen. You're gonna get older. It's gonna keep sucking. So clean your room. No, I'm kidding.
Well, if you clean your room,
clean your room.
I'm Jordan Peterson, and if you clean your room, your parents will love you.
Someone has to quit Michael to saying Amazon.
Amazon.
You bringing up cleaning your room like reminds me of in high school I did a TED talk, like a mock TED talk of why you should clean your room, and I did like
the Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, just reminded me of that.
You beat a conservative at his own game.
Socioeconomic conditions predict that the more wealth you have, the more you clean your room. So getting into day trading while cleaning your room is actually a great way to invest in the future.
I didn't go that far.
You really fucking... Because you saw how that shit appealed to, like, loser fucking white dudes. Because it's like, oh, clean your room, and that is good for your mental health generally if you keep yourself up. And but then he decided to say something about politics, and then
Yep.
I'm gonna pull up the Tribune piece.
Yes, sir. So another Tribune piece here. Always with the bangers from them. We will get into the title card. Vaccine holidays are a symbol of the new COVID inequality. Across the world, the rich are skipping queues with vaccine holidays, while 130 countries, home to 2.5 billion people, wait for a single dose. The end of the pandemic is the start of a new era of global inequality. After a year of the coronavirus pandemic, the vaccine rollout has been a beacon of hope. Companies including Pfizer, Moderna, and AstraZeneca have been distributing the vaccine on a global scale. However, with the predictions that most poor countries won't achieve mass immunization against the virus until at least 2024, global inequality, which has already been growing for years before the outbreak, looks set to be consolidated by a divide between the vaccinated wealthy and the unvaccinated poor. Perhaps the most obvious and most depressing manifestation of this imbalance is the new trend for vaccine holidays, opportunities for the rich to skip the queue. One elite club, which began offering members aged 65 and over vaccine holidays back in January, is Knightsbridge Circle, whose members reportedly have an average net worth of $800 million, with destinations ranging from the UAE to India and Madagascar. These privileges are only available to those who can afford the $40,000 or £40,000 fee. In the UK, national travel restrictions class holidays are class holidays as illegal, but cash can get you immunity to both the virus and the rules. However, Britain's speedy vaccine rollout means our domestic millionaires haven't been taking advantage of those offers as much as they might have otherwise have done. In global north countries where the rollout has been slower, like Canada, vaccine holidays are proving more popular. Last month, the CEO of Canada's largest pension fund, Mark Machin, resigned after ignoring travel restrictions and traveling to Dubai for a jab. And in January, a Canadian casino executive and his actress wife flew into a remote town populated by the indigenous workers and received their shots before flying back out on their chartered plane to their luxury home in Vancouver. I mean, which is, insane to think about. Like, a big owner of a casino just flies to some random country and just gets his vaccine and then just dips back out to his multi-million-dollar home.
Yeah, it's just like the DeSantis shit, right?
Yeah.
You all see this as part of a larger global problem of just wealth inequality.
It's global wealth inequality. It's just the fact that the fact that nothing is this individualist idea that most people have in their heads. Like everything is connected. Like as much as we
All
want
these
to be
elite club nights.
yeah, like as long as like we can say we're independent nations all we want, but what we do in our own like sovereign countries has effects on other countries.
Isn't there a new
Especially
story that just came out recently that China now has more billionaires than the U.S.?
Yeah, well, they're
Okay.
next up,
That's
right?
global capitalism.
Yep. Next up. They're building. They're lifting.
oh yeah,
Gains.
gains like the CIS and Counter-Strike.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we should do a whole segment on that.
Counter-Strike?
It would just be how Counter-Strike, and you have to make it political somehow, though. I've seen it with, like, there's some good sport documentaries that are tied into, like, political history and stuff.
Mm.
I don't know how you would do that with CS, though.
We
Just
should play a whole
the decline of
game
empire.
on stream.
Okay, I got it. As the world goes virtual, and the
Well, I mean,
decline of the empire happens.
to an
Video
extent,
games are the one light.
to an extent, you can make it political. Like, think about what countries have pro teams.
Right. Oh yeah, the socialist teams have always prospered.
Or just richer nations tend to have
just richer nations.
access to sports, like especially on the internet where you need.
Look at Brazil, dude. Brazil's like the biggest example.
Exactly.
Like they have some of the best players in the world.
And like the old Illuminati lineup, they're all just from the straight favelas, like FNX. If you saw a guy walking down the street,
they had to get money from other players to
they had to
get to I think it was like Cologne or something.
And then if they didn't win that and Cole had to go back to Brazil, his parents wouldn't let him play Counter-Strike anymore. Like that was really shit like having
you can make some shit. Yeah.
Having access to ways out in more countries, it's nuts. Because it literally changed Cold Zero's whole life. And he's now like not only one of the best players in CS history, but he's so much more in shape now.
Yeah, true.
Like
he's all like he's a big boy before.
He's a little chubby boy. He chopped in the husky section. Now he's just jacked.
Yeah, I think we could do that. That'd be interesting.
That would be interesting.
CS political. And Simple's just Adolf Hitler in this analogy. But if he won. For people that don't know, Simple is the greatest Counter-Strike player to ever play.
He's the Jordan.
Yeah, LeBron. Controversial. Controversial. I didn't grow up watching Jordan.
Exactly.
It's hard to say that.
You've explained it.
Yeah.
You grew up with LeBron.
They played against scrubs too. There's a couple good players, but come on.
It's nothing like it is now.
These dudes now make tens of millions of dollars and they're freaking on the juice and all kinds of shit, dude.
Yeah, just insanely tall, just playing literally they have like special shoes that are just like made to play basketball in. They have all these new like techniques for like massaging your muscles after game and like
just change. People shoot more.
Yeah, it's just it's a way different game.
Yeah, I could beat Jordan. Hell yeah. I hope someone left because of that.
Yeah, just some fucking pissed off Jordan fan just going and typing on Twitter. These fucking stupid fucking white guys fucking Spoop Podcast over here talking about fucking Jordan.
They'll never come Chirac, fool.
Nah, it's definitely...
I have been there.
Yeah, you had shitty deep dish pizza. Because deep dish pizza is fucking stupid.
The worst.
Fuck a deep dish pizza.
Of canon, like known pizza can.
Fucking movie nerd.
The ones in the normal pizzas that people know, deep dish is the worst.
I'm a big fan of thin crust pizza.
Yeah. The more Italian it is, the better. It doesn't have to be super thin.
I've been more into pan recently. Just because I feel like there's just more food because there's more press.
You know what fucking? Remember the fucking? I think it was Pizza Hut there. That pretzel crust shit.
Oh God!
Incredible.
You just feel your big toes start hurting after you eat it.
No, notice some yellowing of the eyes.
Oh God! Hell yeah! Well, yeah. Anyways, we got to make a CS:GO podcast and a basketball podcast.
Yeah,
So
we definitely. Yeah.
How many podcasts am I making now?
We need 7 at least.
We gotta be multifaceted, just supremely online. The Spoop Network, exactly, Jose.
We're gonna do shit like when FaZe would put like their edits on Pornhub back in like the
Just put our
early 2010s.
Put our podcast on Pornhub.
Yeah. Can we just post content to OnlyFans and make people pay for it, and it just ends up being our fucking podcast?
Patreon.
Can do that.
Patreon, but on OnlyFans.
How does Patreon even work? Do we have to make like, a base amount of money to even start one, or can we just?
I don't know.
Is it like a GoFundMe? You can just make one.
I think with Patreon you have to like.
I just want one so we can say Patreon, so we can be the only other.
We can thank the Patreon community at the start of every show.
Fucking disgusting.
He's the only guy, I'm pretty sure.
Fuck.
God damn it.
Patreon.
The Patreon. Yeah, maybe if a British guy said it. The Patreon community.
I mean, we can go on Fiverr and pay a guy and just put on a soundboard. Patreon.
Fiverr.
It's like a fucking like you pay people to do shit. Like you get like a voice actor to like voice act a script. Or, like, pay a guy for like a guitar.
What is Stitcher then? I don't understand what Stitcher is.
Probably the same thing. Do you know what Five-ish is?
No. It sounds scary.
I thought you laughed because you knew. Okay, I won't get super into it because it's.
It sounds like something I don't want to know.
It's really bad.
I'm Googling it already.
It's really bad. Okay, so Five-ish basically, for the people who aren't going to Google it, it's this really old Jewish not cartoon, but like this Jewish like Sesame Street, and the main character.
Oh yeah, the dog.
Yeah. It's made by like I think it's made by like Jewish people. I promise I'm not anti-Semitic, but like
it's
the main character
group that made it.
It's like the main guy is really a $5 bill and it's Five-ish.
Yeah, it's an anthropomorphic bill.
And he teaches them about like banking and like loans or something. It's nuts. It's like you can find it on YouTube. Oh, it's so bad. There's like a scene in one of the episodes where Five-ish is just like dancing in a circle, and like all the little Jewish kids with the yarmulkes are like dancing in a circle around him, doing like the wedding dances and shit. It's fucking so crazy.
This is actually insane. They have like multiple Five-ishes.
I was watching Cumtown at like 3 a.m.
Yeah, that's where I saw it. I remember it was like on the side, yeah.
And then Nick was just talking about it. That shit was killing me, dude.
A pillar of the Italian community. I'm sure they made it.
Oh, dude, can I get a Five-ish costume?
I am not putting that on the stream.
Oh yeah, you don't have to.
Yeah, you don't
I just wanted to make that clear.
All right, so are we gonna keep with the?
Yeah, I have a little bit more to read.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna read these next. It's a pretty short article. Big sidetrack. So getting back into the article, starting off at the bigger problem. As tempting as it is to rail against individuals who use and provide these services though vaccine holidays are only symptoms of a far bigger problem. They are a mark of a world in which well-being and individual survival. I came up with that word. That's not there. Well-being and survival are not basic rights that should be available to all on a public basis. They're commodities to be bought and sold. In Britain, COVID-19 has made the correlation between health and wealth inescapable. Poor people are more likely to die from COVID. Poor areas are more likely to have high infection rates. That isn't because those people can't afford to fly out to Dubai for a vaccine vacation. It's because of the austerity cuts to public health services in poor areas, low rates of statutory sick pay, precarious employment, overcrowded housing, and institutional racism, among many, many other interrelated factors. And I think one of the key word of that whole part is interrelated, because it's everything's related. That's applying that like material lens to everything. And those divisions are now being amplified on a global scale. In February, President Joe Biden announced a $4 billion package for humanitarian program, COVAX, which was designed last year to improve distribution between rich and poor countries. Despite that, COVAX only began its rollout the same month, leaving it lagging far behind those vaccine rollouts already underway in the global north. COVAX is an alternative to the waiving of vaccine patients, which many believe would achieve global immunity to COVID far quicker. The problem is that waiving patients jeopardizes the profit of wealthy pharmaceutical companies. The US and UK, who sit in the top 4 countries with highest vaccination doses administered thus far, have been arguing against waivers at the World Trade Organization, claiming that it would impede private investment. The priorities here are clear. Meanwhile, around 130 countries have reportedly still not received a single dose. And something I wanted to bring up really quick. Where did I just read that? Oh, so yeah, something else I saw on I believe it's like the current path, like we're not supposed to get global like majority immunization until like 2024 on the current path, which is just nuts, because that like how are you letting this go on for years? It's gonna be almost
Yeah.
5. It's gonna be almost 5. It's almost 5 years of COVID just ravaging these poor nations.
That's like an unspoken part too, right? Like you were saying earlier, like the wealth inequality is global too. If we think of it in a global sense, I think we talked about this before too. Like once this pandemic has not subsided, but it's years along, like always in the third world, it's going to devastate some of those countries that can't get vaccines because they don't have money.
Yeah.
And that's just so horrible.
100%. I'll get into this last part right here really quick, and then we can move on. And this one is called the Great Unequalizer. Talk of being all in this together has plagued government press responses during the pandemic, but the actions of political class and their wealthy peers have done little to back this up. The reality is that the pandemic has continually shown us that wealth inequality dictates, in the starkest terms, who gets to live and who must risk dying. Of course, it's not just a poor person's problem. What none of the jet setters want to admit is that leaving others unvaccinated for long periods of time, either locally or abroad, increases the likelihood of a virus mutation that's immune to their expensive or profit generating jabs. Health inequalities are symptomatic of a capitalist system that intentionally fails to fulfill some of people's most basic needs while lavishing luxuries on others. Capitalist methods of distribution are inherently inequitable. And in the times of health crises, this has devastating consequences for those who are ranked lower on the socioeconomic scale. Health democracy, on the other hand, means ensuring that everyone has the equal opportunity to realize a decent standard of health and well-being for themselves. But this can't happen while capitalist logics that reinforce inequalities in health outcomes are themselves allowed to drive health service distribution. COVID-19 has not been the great equalizer some predicted it would be back in March of 2020. Instead, it has proven that elites will do everything they can to stop an equal world existing, and we must fight to bring it about ourselves. Tied it to the end really well. Really good last section here. But yeah, just back in March 2020, that's crazy. That's literally a year ago.
Yeah, literally a year ago.
Yep.
Yeah, I think how that tied up was exactly all what we were talking about too. So you want to do this last one before we hit the break?
Yeah.
So this one's kind of, not related, but I tried to do a search during one of our when someone was reading and I couldn't find it, but I'm pretty sure earlier we've covered climate change subjects before and we haven't in a while. And I know before we covered like a giant glacier or something dropping off in Antarctica. Well, now that's happened again. It's from CBS News, but it's whatever. Iceberg larger than New York City breaks off in Antarctica. An iceberg measuring 492 feet thick and 490 square miles broke off from the Brunt ice shelf on Friday. According to a press release from the British Antarctic Survey, the BAS, the section, measuring larger than New York City, cleaved near BAS's Holly Research Section, which was closed for the season earlier this month. The research station likely will not be impacted by the break. Researchers say the first indication of calving came last November when a crack known as the North Rift became active, rupturing towards a chasm known as the Stancomb-Wills Glacier tongue almost 23 miles away. And you could show them the picture there, but you can't really tell what you're looking at generally because it's so fucking massive. But yeah, the reason why this is happening, of course, is as global emissions go up, these things happen. And we talked about this before too. Like, we remember all those pictures and stuff early in the pandemic where like the skies were clear and stuff, and people were talking about like, it almost felt like there was like that energy in Bernie's campaign where there was like a renewed optimism for like maybe we could do something about climate change too, was kind of there. But yeah, horrible shit like this happening, like when giant icebergs and glaciers separate and drop off into the water, that completely fucks with the water cycle of the earth and the temperatures, kills off biodiversity, displaces animals and makes areas completely arid, and yeah, all kinds of devastating effects. Like if you ever look up one of those things where it's like all the hallmarks of like the planet's fucked or whatever, I'm pretty sure like giant glaciers melting and falling into the ocean is like one of the major boxes.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, we crossed out others too, but yeah, this one flew under the radar though. I just saw this like passing and I was like, oh, that's nuts. Like,
oh, you flew over?
Yeah, I flew. Yeah, I was like, I flew to work and I was like, oh fuck, Antarctica is just separating.
This is Michael's. This is Jacan's picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, I took this. I work for CBS News.
You took this while flying the plane.
Oh god, no! I'm actually on the bottom of the plane taking the picture.
Strapped to it with duct tape.
Oh no. I'm just hanging to it by my balls. Yep. It's the only way you can get this angle.
I respect. Yeah, I mean, I believe it.
Yeah, like I said, you almost can't tell what you're looking at because it's so massive. But essentially, this whole thing ruptured, and that's going to have devastating effects on the climate.
Looks just like a major river, if anything.
Just looks like a giant fault line or something.
Yeah.
But not good.
Not good. Believe me.
So we have, for this show, this is a pretty long one. We have a pretty good second half here too. So we want to go into our breaky?
Yeah, let's get into it. We will be back after this song. Thank you for sticking with us. If you like what you saw so far, all the articles, all the banter, we appreciate it if you drop a follow. And if you want to support us further, dropping a sub like me and Jacan did, that'd be really appreciated as well. So yeah, we'll be right back, everybody. Enjoy the song.
Plus.
what you dream about. I've asked myself a million times, is it me or just your vibes? I woke up, got fucked up, and left right after. Just shut up, show me love, or just give me a hug.
Flat top.
That's interesting.
Fuck.
That's good stuff. Oh,
I've never
Ron,
heard that song before. That was a really good song.
this new song,
Oh,
very good. SarahTonein.
yeah, that was a great song.
That's a fucking good song.
So I realized I just typed this too. I realized I made a mistake. I had to pee really bad. I just drank way too much water, and I realized we skipped something. So we'll start with that.
We skipped something?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
yeah.
We didn't skip anything.
Shut the fuck up.
What do you mean? This is our next article right here. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yep. No.
No. Yes. No.
Yes. No.
I mean, it is more of a discussion piece, so I mean, we could save it for the end.
Do you want to? We could do that, or we could just, if you want to, like, we could touch on it and then talk about it.
I mean, it's already almost midnight, so we should probably, try to get through the news for all the people who want it, and then I want to save it for the end. Let's just do that.
Let's do the Israel one then.
I think this is one of like the biggest pieces of the night.
Yeah, this is a great piece as well.
Yes, I'd recommend reading the whole thing. I only have a couple of little sections I want to read from, just to kind of give everybody the gist of it, and then we can just, bring it into discussion. So the title card from here from The Intercept. A pro-Israel lawyer is weaponizing public records law against Palestinian activists. Right-wing lawyer David Abrams' lawsuits against UCLA could unleash harassment on attendees of a Students for Justice in Palestine event. Starting from the second paragraph. Singh, a Sikh American who at the time was a law student at UCLA, agreed. She spoke to a student-run feminist magazine about her workshop on the Palestine-Kashmiri struggles for justice at the conference, which brought together students from across the country to strategize on how to advance the campus movement for Palestinian human rights. A quote here: "I didn't think about the consequences. I thought it shouldn't be a problem. It's a small feminist magazine," unquote, said Singh. A few days after the article was published, while looking herself up on Google as she applied for jobs, she noticed that she had a profile on Canary Mission, a website that blacklists Palestinian rights activists by creating dossiers on them and labeling them anti-Semites and supporters of terrorism. The profile contained links to all her social media accounts and noted that she had led a workshop at the 2018 conference, which Canary Mission claimed celebrated violence. And a quick like backstory on Canary Mission. I looked into them. So what they basically do is anybody who speaks out against the state of Israel, whether it's in bad faith or not, they put you on this website. They don't have any sort of filters. So you like your name goes right next to a Nazi, like literally. It's like the BDS movement, the boycott, divestment, and sanction movements against Israel and in support of the Palestinian people, is quite literally right next to David Duke and the Daily Stormer. Daily Stormer is literally just like a neo-Nazi website where you go to be a neo-Nazi, and they have a live updating clock of when the white people are gonna be like the minority of the world or whatever. They're just like, yeah, there's the most butthurt Nazi losers ever. And then you have David Duke, which is an American straight Nazi.
They just have the like white conversion clock, and they have the national deficit clock. Probably it's the same type of guy.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, just like a quick backstory on them. Just dumbass fucking website. I mean, obviously, obviously, like, people like David Duke and the Daily Stormer, obviously in bad faith, they're obviously very anti-Semitic, and to put them right next to the BDS movement, which just only wants to, give back human rights to the Palestinian people, it's disgusting, and it's it's super irresponsible.
It's only a matter of time before we end up on there.
Yes, sir.
Ian told me he searched though.
Yeah, we're not there. We're not there yet.
We're not big enough right now.
Well, we might be in some redacted files, boys. They don't. The real fighters, they don't put us in the fucking files. Come on.
Yeah, exactly.
We're talking about Fred Hampton now. He fucking died 40 years ago.
We're on the beta websites. He's on the
We're deep on Groiper accounts.
He was in the real sauce.
God.
They have to ignore us so they can't let our message even spread.
Continuing on here. Most of the other 65 presenters of the conference had feared of being similarly blacklisted and not want to face online harassment, denial of jobs, and being banned by Israeli authorities from entering Israel-Palestine. Canary Mission's impact is by now well documented. Students say that it has harmed their mental health and impeded their desire to get more involved in the Palestinian rights movement. In some cases, FBI agents have relied on information compiled by Canary Mission while questioning activists. And Palestinian Americans have been denied entry to visit Israel-Palestine because of their Canary Mission profiles. So simply existing as a Palestinian person is too far for the Canary Mission, for the pro-Israel website. Just simply existing as somebody who is not in support of the state of Israel is too far, and you should be barred from going back to your home country as well as having any sort of professional job. In the lead up to the 2018 conference, which had drawn scrutiny from elected officials and law enforcement, Students for Justice in Palestine, or SJP, activists asked UCLA's administration keep the names of presenters anonymous. UCLA agreed, and for the most part, their anonymity held. Now the students' anonymity, can't speak right now, is at risk, and thanks to public records lawsuit filed by right-wing Israel advocate and attorney David Abrams, who runs a group called the Zionist Advocacy Center. Fucking nerd. Abrams is also a registered foreign agent for an Israeli government-backed legal organization which has helped file lawsuits against city governments that have criticized Israel and against Palestine rights activists. The case is set to be decided after oral arguments in Los Angeles County Superior Court take place on March 11th. So coming up in 4 days. Though both sides expect an appeal, whatever the judge's decision. The lawsuit is a test case for whether right-wing Israel advocates can exploit public records laws meant to promote government accountability in order to undermine the Palestinian rights movement by erasing activist anonymity. In filing the lawsuit, Abrams has joined the ranks of those who exploit public records laws against their ideological opponents, a tool that has hit climate scientists, labor study departments, abortion clinics, agricultural researchers, among others, because they're public institutions, public universities are subject to such requests. And then I'm going to be skipping down to right that like side that like scroll down a little bit more. It's like a that one, like that like weird shaped paragraph. As the lobbying campaign intensified, the UCLA Police Department shared a list of possible speakers at a conference with the FBI. Even though the department did not know yet who the speakers would be, in a memo prepared by the police department and released as a result of the public records lawsuit against UCLA, the police noted that the FBI had investigated several of the figures due to their high-profile activism and ties to Palestinian groups. The police department also noted that no charges.
High-profile activism.
Exactly. What the fuck even is that?
They text their friend that they don't think Israel should kill fucking children. Like, it could be anything.
Exactly.
That's ridiculous.
Exactly. And then no charges were filed, and there are no active investigations. After the UCLA police received a list of confirmed speakers, the department again shared a list of names with the FBI and checked to see if the conference speakers' names were on the UN Security Council's sanctions list and the U.S. Treasury Department's specially designated nationals and blocked persons list. Which, like, what is that? Like, what the fuck? None of the conference speakers' names showed up on those lists, and the UCLA police again noted that there are no open investigations regarding SJP, the speakers, panelists, and workshop leaders. But you gonna fucking believe the cops? You gonna fucking believe the FBI? Are you fucking kidding me? They're watching them like hawks, probably. And even if they're not, there's still that you never know if they are kind of thing, and that's just additional stress on the activist side. The
Yeah,
UCLA,
they're not gonna tell you.
exactly.
Well, there's no accountability when they lie about saying so in public either, because they can just say, "Oh, it was in the interest of the case or the investigation." No, we always are above the law, in pursuit of the law.
The intense scrutiny led conference organizers to adopt strict security measures. Attendees were told not to throw name tags in the trash to reduce the risk of opponents finding out who they are. To move between buildings on campus, students walked together for protection and covered their faces. On the last day of the conference, about 100 pro-Israel activists rallied outside of the conference, and one Israel advocate, holding an Israeli flag, interrupted the conference and hopped on stage before being shouted down. It was pretty bizarre, said Iram Thakcham, a member of UCLA's SJP chapter, who helped organize the conference. At one point, protesters surrounded my car as I was driving to the venue to drop off supplies. They were taking pictures of me and some people who were in the car, including an elderly Palestinian woman in the car, who said, "This feels like Palestine." Which, like, yeah, I don't even know what the fuck that even means, you know? And here's a picture of.
What she means, it feels like being just persecuted by.
Oh, exactly. Yeah,
people.
but, like,
It's crazy.
But still, like, it's hard to put yourself in that, like.
Right. Yeah, it's fucking jarring, right?
Exactly. Like, imagine all these guys standing around your car, just screaming at you, taking pictures of you.
Some old, defenseless woman too.
And yeah, it's nuts. And I recommend reading the whole article. It's very interesting. Intercept's wishy-washy here, but with every news site, you're gonna get a good article here and there. So, what I recommend checking this one out is, of course, gonna be in the description of our YouTube video, which comes out tomorrow at 10:30 p.m.
Yeah.
And that actually goes up on time.
Yes, that one does. That one is at.
That's a low blow.
That's I was gonna say. I was about to say, Michael, you better just take that.
Michael took that one on the chin.
I think
honestly,
either Carlos meant it that way or because we're late to the stream. It was one of the two.
Either way, both blows are worthy.
Yeah.
No.
Really quick, before we move on, I just happened to look at that one list that, like, with the weird name for the U.S. Treasury, the specially designated nationals and blocked person. And I'm just scrolling through it, and one of the first things I see is the IRA, the Irish Republic.
Yeah, of course.
That's
Effective groups. Yeah.
Light Infantry Division of the Burmese Army.
Good night, Jose.
Good night, Jose.
Oh, good night, Jose.
Have a
Drive
good
safe tomorrow.
safe, buddy.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean,
Go
we got to
ahead.
put our solidarity with Palestine here too, because
Of course.
yeah, this shit could come after us too. So, and that's not the reason why we should shout that out, but it's like we stand in solidarity with them, and we're gonna speak the truth because Israel apartheid is wrong. It's disgusting as well,
Yeah.
and this is just clear. Like I said earlier, I brought up Fred Hampton for a second. Like we've seen throughout, the FBI's history, they're willing to take measures against people straight up just working to make better lives for people. And honestly, Palestinian activists are no exception. They're willing to ruin people's lives just because you're trying to make people's lives better. So.
Or is another whitewashed figure in history, especially when you figure out what his political beliefs were, Albert Einstein, and what he had to say about Israel.
Yeah.
He refused to want any part of it back in the 40s.
Yeah, they don't talk about his socialist leanings either, of course.
Of course, he was a great scientist, so they have to talk about him and use him as an idealized figure. But once you go into his political history, like it's obvious they had to just throw that out.
Right. Yeah, I can think most people can't even guess what his response was to making the bomb, which is that he deeply regretted having anything to do with that. Also, most people know the interviewers with other, I know for like one class I had, like we pretty much watched of the scientists, all the ones that were just touting, how proud they were to be part of the project and stuff. Oppenheimer's the other good one. Wasn't he the one where he's like, I am become death or something nuts? Hell yeah.
This list is like, I'm still looking through this list while you guys are talking.
What else have you?
I like just a bunch of like refinery companies in Syria and Iran are just banned from talking.
Of course. We haven't. I
like
considered
oil
covering it for a story, like the grocery store in, I think it's Venezuela, but it's an Iranian grocery store that's ran there, and they're being like hella sanctioned, like in the same way, pretty much. That's an incredible story. Maybe we should throw that in the backlog somewhere.
Yeah, so if in the modern day, Albert Einstein would be banned from speaking because he's against the state of Israel.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Or they go after him and use these tactics. He wanted to do it on normal, everyday people. We ready to move to the?
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess now we're going to Israel. Let's go to Ecuador. We talked about arouse and how the revival of the citizens movement is happening. AKA the socialists are kind of back in power in Ecuador, and they've ousted the neoliberal Lenin Moreno, but in doing that and in defeating I forget his first name, something Lasso, he who was the conservative who aroused beat out, this other figure emerged who came in second, and now the reason I want to cover this is because I saw news recently with this guy. He goes by Yaku Pérez. He's making even more claims that Ecuador's election was illegitimate and that for some reason the U.S. should come and interfere and arouse isn't and shouldn't be president. And this guy claims to be like an eco-socialist or something. So I found this Ben Norton piece where he breaks him down. And yeah, we'll talk about it, and then we can talk about it after. It says how Ecuador's U.S.-backed coup-supporting eco-socialist, in quotes, candidate Yaku Pérez aids the right wing. Ecuador's presidential candidate Yaku Pérez supported coups in Bolivia, Brazil, Venezuela, and Nicaragua. His U.S.-backed party, Pachakutik, and supposedly left-wing environmentalist campaign is being promoted by right-wing corporate lobbyists. Quito, Ecuador. Ecuador's February 7th presidential election concluded in a surprise. The quick count published by the country's National Electoral Council appeared to show a little-known candidate named Yaku Pérez Guartambel in second place, securing a narrow victory over right-wing candidate Guillermo Lasso, a banker with significant influence in the country. Most polls had predicted that the presidential race would boil down to two presidential candidates, who could hardly have been more different. On one side was the conservative banker Lasso, who had the backing of Ecuadorian elites in the United States and had unsuccessfully run for president twice before, while the other was a youthful left-wing economist, Andres Arauz, who followed in the steps of socialist former President Rafael Correa and wanted to return to his citizens' revolution. But while polling consistently showed him coming in third place, Yaku Pérez stayed in the race until the end, and unlike Lasso, Pérez didn't claim fidelity to the right wing. He ran what was marked as a progressive environmentalist campaign. Pérez, an indigenous leader from Ecuador's party Pachakutik, supported to be the true left-wing option in the election. Condemning Arauz and the socialist Correísta movement he represents for being insufficiently pure. But Pérez's record suggests he is a Trojan horse for the left's most bitter enemies. The support Pérez has apparently has from the U.S. Embassy reflects his dubious role. Immediately after the election, when Ecuador National Electoral Council, the CNE, had still not officially published results determining who would go to the presidential runoff in April, Pérez said the U.S. Embassy called him and assured he would be the second-place candidate. Pérez has viciously attacked other progressive movements in Latin America, supporting right-wing U.S.-backed coups targeting Bolivia, Brazil, Venezuela, and Nicaragua, and demonizing those countries' leftist governments as racist. His political views fuse ultra-leftist, anarchist critiques of existing left-wing states with an objectively right-wing political agenda, and his opposition to state power is deeply opportunistic. While Pérez harshly criticizes China, he has simultaneously pronounced he will, quote, not think twice about signing a trade deal with the United States, which tells you everything about, what he is. Pérez ostensibly progressive ideology is filled with contradictions. While the Correísta candidate Arauz has proposed giving $1,000 checks to 1 million working-class Ecuadorian families, Pérez has attacked the plan on the grounds that poor citizens would, this is from him, spend all the money on beer in one day. And while Pérez has criticized the current government of Ecuador and protested against its right wing, U.S.-backed President Lenin Moreno, who has an approval rating of just 8% and just lost, and is thus politically poisonous for all of the country's electoral candidates. Pérez has previously praised the corrupt and authoritarian leader as a, quote, good man. Another indigenous leader in Ecuador, Leonidas Iza, publicly warned that right-wing activists and members of the banker Guillermo Lasso's conservative CRO party are in Pérez's inner circle and are advising him. So, and it even goes on later to talk about how some of the NGOs that Pachutic party or whatever it's called, it's straight up, the NGOs are straight up funded by the U.S. government, something like $5 million or something. And the reason I wanted to bring this up was, of course, it came back up, and we want to shout out solidarity to the Ecuadorian people, as we've done with, the Venezuelans when we call out Juan Guaido as a fraud and these other countries. But we can take this home as a lesson too, to realize, like, hey, what to look out for, right? Like, I think we've discussed this before. Like, purity tests are good, but it just depends, what kind of purity test. And these are clearly like weaponizing purity tests and being like, I'm the pure environmentalist, and also being a straight up like right winger funded by the government.
Exactly. Yeah.
By the U.S. government, rather. So.
No, I just objectively like the U.S. government. No other reason. No relation.
It can't be the money. It can't be any of that. Can you scroll down past that picture? There's another picture. You keep going. This guy's like changed his. Keep going. You'll see like a picture of his face. So that's what he looks like now, and he has like he tried to cultivate like this working class indigenous look. But keep going, you'll see him. Yeah, so that's what he looked like before. So he's completely changed. He's just a straight up puppet of the fucking U.S. government. But yeah, what I was saying by purity tests, like it's good to have purity tests, like for the real issues that matter. And that's when you look at Arouse's government, it's standing for the citizens' revolution, which is, standing against the U.S. empire, giving, more democratic control to their people, money to their people, and that's what's right. That's a good purity test. We have to stand for those things. So, yeah, that was all I had for this piece. Anyone have any thoughts before we move to the next one?
Let's keep her rolling. I think that this is a cool, interesting piece too.
Yeah, and this one's good, and we also stand in solidarity with Bolivia, of course. With their elections that went favorably as well recently, and changing out their whole parliament and stuff too, or whatever their legislation as well. And this is from Reuters. It says Bolivia returns $350 million to IMF after irregular and onerous loan. La Paz, February 17th, Wednesday. Bolivia's central bank said on Wednesday it returned a loan of nearly $346.7 million plus interest to the International Monetary Fund to avoid unnecessarily saddling its economy with debt. And we don't actually have to read anymore there because I just can go off that. Like when I was talking about these are the things we have to stand on, like these are the issues. Like we know that the IMF is a wing of U.S. imperialism, and they use this crippling debt to destroy these countries. And it's very brave of, we have to stand with these countries because they're risking everything to leave these 350 million to get out of. It's gonna in the end be what saves their country, but it's a great undertaking that they're gonna have to go, and we stand in solidarity with them. It's the work that needs to be done, and they're doing. It's so awesome to see. Like we talked about Thomas Sankara, like that was the thing that got him killed pretty much, was when he was like, we are no longer taking IMF loans. I might consider talking to China even, and then months later he's assassinated. So yeah, we have to shout out these stories so that shit like that doesn't happen as well. We need to build our own power.
The military really has no problem wasting tons and tons of money.
Oh no, yeah, I mean this loan is just among other loans too. This is just one massive loan from the IMF that they rejected, among other tools they used. We have a lengthier piece here though that we can pull out. This is kind of our Latin American section of the show. I don't remember how I saw this come up, but it was really interesting. We talked about AMLO's, Mexico's president, our hopes for him as a leftist president. The politics of Mexico in general. We've had Abraham come on and talk about, the cartels and their workings, their direct, workings with both the U.S. government and the Mexico government. And that's going to come up in this story too. And we've also talked about AMLO way in the past too. Just his response, his failure to respond to the femicides and the feminist movement, just condemning, the rising feminist movement in Latin America. This is from the World Socialist website. It says, in first meeting with Biden, Mexico's AMLO reaffirms allegiance to Washington. U.S. President Joe Biden held his first full meeting with his Mexican counterpart Andrés Manuel López Obrador, AMLO, via video conference on Monday. Brief televised greetings were followed by closed-door discussions and the issuing of a joint declaration. Beyond formal statements of mutual respect and equal treatment by Biden, the meeting marks a continuation of the subservience of the AMLO administration to the interests of U.S. imperialism that was cemented under Trump. The Mexican president, who has been tirelessly promoted as left and progressive by pseudo-left outlets, like Jacobin. We've used Jacobin as a source, but they're, at times they do get the issues wrong too. Set the tone for his relationship with Biden by, quote, correcting from the right, a phrase attributed to the brutal ruler overthrown by the Mexican Revolution, Porfirio Diaz, an authoritarian puppet of U.S. and European imperialism and the landed oligarchy. The famous quote I think we said before, "For Mexico, so far from God and so close to the United States," Diaz supposedly said. But AMLO proclaimed, quote, "But we can say now, blessed Mexico so close to God and not so far from the United States." But I believe our proximity will allow us to develop better in these times. Biden responded with a big smile and giggles. Probably the dementia, but that's not in the article. That was me. This happened even though AMLO's main proposal for the meeting, a request that the United States shares its COVID-19 vaccines with Mexico, had already been rejected outright by Biden's press secretary Jen Psaki hours before the virtual encounter. No, Psaki said. The president has made clear that he is focused on ensuring that vaccines are available to every American. That is our focus. A vague mention of cooperation in the joint statement was used to cover over the rejection of Mexico's request. Such vaccine nationalism is unscientific and can only undermine the efforts to contain a global pandemic, as new variants, which could eventually deter the effectiveness of the vaccines, sprout whatever corner of the planet surrendered to the virus. I think we touched on earlier in the show. And Ian put pretty eloquently with the tribute piece. You scared me. Instead, both presidents made clear that, as opposed to the life-saving vaccines, their sole priority is expediting the production and the flow of lucrative goods, basically reinforcing NAFTA, services and money that compromise the heart in North America and U.S. imperialism's economic platform. Under the section on the response to the COVID-19 pandemic, the statement declares, quote, "Both leaders agreed to strengthen supply chain resilience and security. The leaders also agreed to restart the high-level economic dialogue to further these aims," which means continuing NAFTA, more outsourcing, breaking strikes, etc. The brief national lockdowns were implemented in May and June last year only after workers across factories in the United States and northern Mexico, following similar steps by European workers, carried out wildcat strikes demanding the shutdown of non-essential production. Aided by the trade unions, the Trump and AMLO administrations soon reopened all manufacturing. Public schools remain closed in Mexico, but pressures are growing for their reopening, which is well underway in the United States and represents a core policy for the Biden administration. In Mexico, orders to close restaurants and indoor businesses were issued in certain states when infections and hospitalizations crossed the threshold. However, the lack of economic assistance has forced small businesses and informal workers to choose between continuing operations or total deprivation. These criminal reopenings and social austerity at the behest of the American financial and corporate oligarchy and their Mexican junior partners have resulted in the first and third highest confirmed COVID-19 death tolls in the world. Over 525,000 in the United States and 185,000 in Mexico. And this next part actually blew my mind. I didn't know this part. In Mexico, however, between March 2020 and the end of the year, the government reported 335,525 excess deaths compared to a 2015 to 2019 average baseline. According to the Financial Times, Mexico's excess mortality per million was 52% greater than in the US and almost twice as high as in Brazil. These figures don't include record deaths in January and February 2021, when hospitals in Mexico City were overwhelmed and oxygen tanks became scarce. So you're seeing that, in short, AMLO is just doing, what needs to be done on behest of the rich oligarchs of the United States and Mexico, just outsourcing, keeping production going, and I sent that last paragraph to my girlfriend Carolina, because I was like, I didn't know that. Like, I knew Brazil had some crazy, death rates, and the United States, of course, has bungled it as the leading empire in the world. But Mexico has really faced the brunt of this too, really bad. And AMLO has done nothing but serve corporate interest and, blast actual fucking grassroots activists. So, not my president. No. Whatever they said, yeah, not my president.
Not my president.
So yeah, we stand with all the activists in Mexico trying to build an alternative to the social austerity that is AMLO. We see his flavor is the same as Joe Biden, and later in the article, like, it talks about his cooperation with Trump. It shows like what Biden really is too. Like, at heart, these people they cooperate with the right wing. They have the same interest in mind. Just the furthering of international capitalism. So yeah, that wraps up our Latin American section. I think we had pretty good pieces.
I agree. We have one more here, which was another one of the bigger ones of the show, and something that I guess really we'll bring it back to home. It's just it's insanity and something we've been talking about all year, ever since the whole Black Lives Matter protest started, or at least regained popularity, I guess, rather. So we have this. It's from MSN, CBS or whatever. Title card: Kentucky bill would make it a crime to insult or taunt a police officer. I'll read that one more time. Kentucky bill would make it a crime to insult or taunt a police officer. A bill moving through Kentucky Senate would make it a crime to insult or taunt a police officer during a riot. Supporters say the bill targets people who unlawfully cross the line, but opponents call it a blatant attempt to crush protests and a violation of First Amendment rights. Senate Bill 211 mandates up to 3 months imprisonment for a person who accosts, insults, taunts, or challenges a law enforcement officer with offensive or derisive words, or makes gestures or other physical contact that would have direct tendency to provoke a violent response from the perspective of a reasonable and prudent person. Whatever the fuck that means. Literally just
At the police's discretion.
Exactly. Whatever, and they're assuming that police are reasonable and prudent. Yeah, it's definitely
instead of psychos that test low on that are. Remember, we covered that story really early on too. That they do IQ test. Yeah. It was like a MythBusters we did. And we're like, it's true. It is true. They're all stupid.
If you look at them the wrong way, that's a bad gesture.
Well, it's just like the excuse they had for years of like the excuse that if a car smells like marijuana, they can pull it over. So they've used that for, if within reasonable discretion, if it smells like weed, they can decide whether or not they want to pull you over.
You should fucking lie.
Yeah, they do it all the time.
Just, it smells like weed in here.
Yep, and then they just shoot you, and they're like, "Oh, I smell like weed." Their headlight was out. They try to grab my gun.
Had a fake $20 bill.
Yeah, exactly.
He looked at my weapon. That means he was going for it.
Jesus.
He looked at me, therefore I assumed he was gonna kill me.
He was black. I mean.
What it comes down to.
Yep.
But continuing on. A person convicted of this misdemeanor charge would also face a $250 fine and be disqualified from public assistance benefits for 3 months, which is that's insanity. Disqualified from public health assistance benefits for 3 months. So I mean, this is like this is obviously going to just further crack down on people who, especially Kentucky being a red state, is going to further crack down on people who are on welfare. You could just say, "Oh, you're at a protest. I'm cutting your benefits." "Oh, you're at a protest." There doesn't even need to be a protest. Just, we have reason to believe you're at this protest and you just said this to an officer. We're kicking you off of public assistance. We're going to charge you $250. And yeah, it's just going to further crack down on disenfranchised communities.
The people who can't afford it. If you're rich, you can do whatever you want. I mean, this isn't going to stop you.
This bill also has a provision pushing back on the defund the police movement, stating that government entities that fund law enforcement agencies must maintain and improve their respective financial support. The bill advanced through the Senate's Veterans, Military Affairs, and Public Protections Committee on Thursday in a 7-3 vote, with only Republicans supporting it. It now moves to the full Senate and could be passed there as early as next week, and would then need to be passed in the House. Republicans control both chambers of Kentucky's legislature. CBS News requested comments from the state senator David Carroll, a Republican and a retired police officer, who is the bill's lead sponsor. Following a publication of the story, he wrote in an email, "After looking at your headline, I don't think I have anything to say to you. I miss a time when we actually had unbiased journalists," was what Senator said. CBS also reached out to the staff of Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear, a Democrat. Piece of shit. Carroll told Louisville Courier-Journal that the bill is a response to riots that broke out in many cities across the country last summer. Louisville was an epicenter for racial justice protests due to the death of Breonna Taylor, a black woman killed in March of 2020 during a raid of her home by Louisville police officers, which is another piece from talking about March of 2020. The Tribune piece in this one is crazy to think that this, a year ago, Breonna Taylor was murdered. It's crazy how fast.
Basically, nothing was done.
Yeah. And then finishing off here with a quote. This country was built on lawful protests, and it's something that we must maintain. Our citizens' right to do so, Carroll said to the Courier-Journal. What this deals with are those who cross the line and commit criminal acts, such as saying a mean word. And I always like to just shit on Republicans because they're all fucking idiots.
Snowflake bitches.
Yeah, snowflake bitch pussies. Yeah, like the so-called party of free speech and the party of the Constitution is quite literally cracking down on your First Amendment right, cracking down on your right to protest, cracking down on your right to free speech, making it illegal to say words. That's cancel culture. That's fucking, that's everything.
That's 1984's Republican.
Yeah, exactly. That's everything. That's everything you say the left does. The powerless left. That's what you say they do. When you literally have Republicans eliminating your right to the freedom of speech and freedom to protest, freedom to gather.
I was thinking, like, obviously it's fucking dumb, but like it would discourage also people to want to protest or gather around, just like you said.
Well, yeah, that's
like,
the whole point.
Because like the whole point of, like, not the whole point, but like people go to protests and you will. Police will be taunted. Police will be called names. Police will be, like, just be, I don't know, verbally assaulted.
Especially at an anti-police protest, which is
Right.
what happened.
And then when police come to a anti-police protest, and sorry, I dropped my. And they do exactly what we complain about the police doing. They assault us. They tear gas us. They almost kill elderly men in Buffalo, New York, by throwing them to the ground.
Yeah.
And, we protest for the exact reason, and the whole point of this bill is to stop that, to silence protesters from talking about the disgusting things happening.
And it's whack.
Yes, Zoomer.
Yeah, that shit fucking whack, yo.
Hey, yo, that shit whack. Hey, slap that
Yeah,
whack. Hey, that ass be that whack.
And when the next protests happen and the cops come and beat you, when you try to fight back, now they can make you pay for it.
And the more important part is you could not be at the protest at all. You could just be a black woman sitting at home raising your kid and see something in the mail saying you're not getting your food stamps, and you also have to pay $250 for being at a protest that you were never at, just so they can kick you off welfare benefits and then defund welfare because then they're gonna say, oh, it's not working. Look at all the people getting kicked off. Blah 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 blah. It's disgusting, and the reverberating effects of this, if this passes, they're quite scary.
Reverberating.
Yeah, that's a big word. I learned that one in the fucking book. Yeah. But yeah, I mean that's the article.
Yeah. That when we ordered it, that's why I put in the original, and that's why I put it there because I thought that was pretty powerful how it came home. It's like that is very scary.
Yeah. And just, beyond just what we can see right in front of us, which is obviously just cracking on. But yeah, I said it like 4 times, predicting that it's just going to do nothing but shit on people who are on welfare that don't protest at all. And it's, I don't want to be right, obviously, but it's Republicans in Kentucky. The fuck do you expect to happen? But yeah, that's everything. It's a dark ending, but it's the news. It's what it is. But that's everything for the show tonight. We can go into our closing thoughts here. We really, I'll do my little outro, then we can just talk and get the fuck out. But we really appreciate you guys hanging out with us. 12:33 here in California. If you enjoyed all the articles we read, anything that you heard, we appreciate if you drop a follow. If you're watching without an account, please create an account and drop a follow. It helps us to know that the community is growing. If you want to support us further, you can either sub with a normal $5 subscription or link your Amazon Prime to Twitch, and you can give us a free Prime sub. It costs you no extra money, only helps us. You can subscribe to us on our YouTube, follow us on our Twitter and Instagram. Everything's at Spoop Podcast. We're on Spotify. We're on SoundCloud at Spoop Podcast. If you want to do audio only, you can check us all out. Also, Michael just put in chat right now our socials link. You click on that, it takes you everywhere we are on the internet. You can follow us all. And yeah, we really appreciate everything. It's super awesome and something I like to say during every single show. It's super important that we have international worker solidarity, and no real change can happen until we start organizing in our cities and really create an internationalist left movement from the ground up.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah. Does anybody else do we have words, or do we want to just spoop?
I think I got my nut off. I'm good.
Yeah, they really busted on our chin. We just had to take that one on our chin.
Jesus. Yeah, boxers for real. There's some. That's.
But yeah, that's everything. Thank you guys again so much.
Let them peep the 805.
Oh, yes, sir.
Yep.
Yes.
That's what I want to say. There we go.
But yeah, thank you guys. Also, Islanders.
Yep.
I think they're in top 10 of the league right now.
Did you just see that Barzell goal from the other day? They're calling it the goal of the year. So.
Ooh, I'll have to.
It's pretty nat. We'll watch it as soon as this is over.
Yeah. You. Fuck the San Jose Sharks. Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys so much for watching. LA Kings all the way, baby. We will be back on Wednesday. Thank you again. Later, y'all.
Planet Doctor.